Hello everyone. Welcome to English in Fluency, the channel where you improve your English while also learning something useful for your life. I'm your host, Alex, and I am so happy you have chosen to spend some time with me today. As always, our main goal here is to help you improve your English listening and speaking skills. But we also want to give you knowledge and ideas that can help you in the real world, in your everyday life. So please, make yourself comfortable. Maybe get a nice cup of tea or coffee. Find a quiet place. And let's get started on our journey together. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that touches every single person's life, no matter who you are or where you live. Our topic is understanding laws and compliance. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Those words, laws, compliance, they sound a little formal, maybe even a little difficult or boring. But please, don't worry. I promise we will keep everything simple, clear, and easy to understand. By the end of this episode, you will have a much clearer idea of what laws are, what compliance really means, and why both of these things are incredibly important for you, for your family, and for the community you live in. So, let's begin with a simple idea. Laws are like the rules of a very big game, the game of life. They are created to keep things fair for everyone, to keep us safe, and to keep everything organized. Imagine you are playing a game with your friends, maybe a board game or a card game, but there are no rules. It would be chaos, wouldn't it? People would probably start to argue. Someone might try to cheat, and soon the game would not be fun anymore. Someone might even get upset or hurt. Life without laws would be just like that, but on a much, much larger and more serious scale. Now, let's talk about that other word, compliance. Compliance is simply about following those rules. It is the action of obeying the laws. And it's not just about following the rules because you are afraid of getting into trouble. It's about understanding that following the rules helps everything in society run smoothly, like a well-oiled machine. A perfect example is stopping your car at a red traffic light. Sometimes, you might stop at a red light in the middle of the night, and the road looks completely empty. There are no other cars around. You might be tempted to just drive through it, but you stop. You wait for the green light. Why? Because it's the rule, and following that rule, that compliance, is what keeps everyone safe on the roads. So why is this topic so important for an English learner? For anyone, well, every single day, whether we notice it or not, laws and compliance are shaping our actions and our decisions. Think about your day. From the moment you wake up in a home that was built according to safety laws, to the moment you lock your front door, a right protected by property laws, to the moment you go to sleep, hopefully in a peaceful neighborhood protected by noise regulations, laws and rules are there. They are protecting you, guiding you, and helping society function. Even the most simple, everyday things, like buying groceries at the store, where consumer protection laws ensure the food is safe, or wearing a seatbelt in your car, or even just being quiet and respectful in your neighbor's yard. All of these actions are connected to the big ideas of laws and compliance. Let me give you one more quick example from daily life in the USA. Imagine you are going to the pharmacy to pick up some medicine. The medicine you buy has been tested and approved by a government agency called the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. That is a law. The law says the medicine must be safe and effective. The company that made the medicine followed all the rules for testing and manufacturing. That is compliance. Because of these laws and the company's compliance, you can trust that the medicine you are taking will help you and not harm you. This shows how following laws is not just about avoiding punishment. It's about creating a system of trust and safety that benefits all of us. Compliance ensures that everyone, from big companies to individual people, is playing by the same set of rules so that life can be predictable and safe for all of us. So today, as we explore this topic together, I invite you to think about your own daily routine. How many moments in your day are shaped by these invisible rules? You might be very surprised at just how much they influence everything you do, and how much they help you live a safer and more organized life. So, what exactly are laws? In the simplest words possible, a law is a rule, an official rule, made by a government or another authority. These rules tell people what they can and cannot do. Laws are not just friendly suggestions or good advice. They are official and binding. If people break them, there are consequences. These consequences could be a fine you have to pay, a penalty, or for very serious offenses, even time in jail. You can think of laws as the official instruction manual for living in a country, just like a new appliance has an instruction manual, so you know how to use it safely and correctly. Without laws, there would be constant confusion, arguments, and chaos. Laws exist for a few very important reasons: to keep people safe, to make life fair, and to help communities work together peacefully. Imagine for a moment living in a town with no laws at all. People could just walk into a store and take whatever they wanted without paying. They could drive their cars as fast as they wanted, in any direction they wanted. They could build a noisy factory right next to your house. It would be a dangerous, unfair, and very stressful place to live. Laws provide us with a clear understanding of what is acceptable behavior and what is not. They protect people's basic rights, their property, and their personal safety. They also provide a peaceful way to solve problems when people have disagreements. We can see laws in action all around us, in every part of our everyday lives. Let's think more about those traffic laws we mentioned. When you see a red traffic light, you stop your car. You do this because it is the law, but the reason for the law is to keep everyone on the road safe. If drivers could just ignore traffic lights whenever they felt like it, there would be terrible accidents happening everywhere, every day. Another simple example is the law about paying for things in a store. The law says you cannot take something from a store without paying for it. This is called theft or stealing. This rule protects the business owners who have invested their money to provide goods, and it ensures a fair system where everyone must give something of value in return for what they get. Laws also protect our homes and our personal property. For example, there is a law called trespassing. This law says you cannot just walk into someone's house or onto their private land without their permission. This rule exists so that people can feel safe and secure in their own homes, in their own private space. In many towns and cities across the USA, there are also local laws, called ordinances, about keeping noise levels down, especially at night. These rules help make sure that people can get the rest and sleep they need, without being disturbed by loud parties or construction. These are all small, common examples, but they show how laws affect our daily routines in so many ways, often without us even thinking about them. One of the most important ideas behind a good system of laws is fairness. A fair society is one where everyone is treated equally, and everyone has to follow the same rules. For instance, traffic laws do not only apply to certain people. They apply to everyone, no matter who they are. If you drive too fast, you can get a speeding ticket, whether you are a very wealthy person or a person with little money. Whether you are young or old, a man or a woman. This idea of fairness helps people trust the system. It helps people feel that the rules are not designed to help some and hurt others. Another big idea is order. Without order, life would be messy, unpredictable, and unsafe. Imagine a busy city intersection with no traffic lights, no stop signs, no painted lines on the road, and no speed limits. It would be a disaster. People would drive in all directions, accidents would constantly happen, and people walking would be at great risk. Laws create order by giving us clear instructions on what to do and when to do it. This makes life more predictable and much safer for everyone. Order does not mean that life is boring or restrictive. It means that life is organized in a way that allows millions of people to live together in a relatively peaceful and cooperative way. It is also very important to understand that laws are not the same everywhere you go. Different countries, and sometimes even different states or cities within the same country, can have very different laws. For example, the speed limit on a highway in one state might be 70 miles per hour, while in another state it might be 65 miles per hour. The laws about recycling can be very different from one city to the next. That is why, when you travel or move to a new place, it is a very good idea to learn about their local laws. This will help you follow the rules and avoid any unexpected problems or fines. Finally, please remember that laws are not created just to make our lives harder. Some people might sometimes think, why do we need so many rules? They are so annoying. But the truth is, most laws exist to protect you, to protect other people, and to make sure that everyone can live together in a peaceful way. They help us all understand what is right and what is wrong in the eyes of society, and they create a common set of expectations that actually makes life easier and less stressful for everyone. So, laws are not just words on a piece of paper written by politicians. They are the framework, the skeleton, that holds our society together. They are the invisible guide that shapes how we live, how we work, how we travel, and how we interact with other people every single day. Even when you do not consciously notice them, they are working in the background to keep you safe, to make things fair, and to keep our world in order. Now that we have a good understanding of what laws are, let's talk more about that related idea. Compliance. As we said before, this word might sound a little formal or difficult, but the meaning is really very simple. Compliance means following the rules. That's it. When you comply with a rule or a law, it means you do what the rule or law says you must do. It is all about your actions. It is about making sure that what you actually do matches what the law or the regulation asks you to do. So, you might ask, how is compliance really different from a law? Well, think of it like this. A law is the rule itself. It is the written statement. But compliance is the act of following that rule. Let's use an example. In many states, there is a law that says you must wear a seat belt when you are in a car. The law is the rule, but compliance is you actually reaching over, grabbing the seat belt and clicking it into place every single time you get into a car. You can know about the law, you can understand it perfectly, but still choose not to follow it. In that situation, you are not being compliant. Compliance is all about turning your knowledge of the rule into real, consistent behavior. Let's look at some more simple examples to make this even clearer. Wearing a seat belt is a perfect one. The law says you have to wear it for your safety. Compliance is making sure you wear it every single time, not just when you see a police car nearby. Another great example is paying your taxes. In the United States, the law requires people who earn income to pay a part of that income to the government. This money is used to pay for roads, schools, the military, and many other public services. Compliance, in this case, means filling out your tax forms honestly, calculating the correct amount you owe, and paying it by the deadline. If someone tries to hide their income or deliberately pays less than they should, they are breaking the law, and they are not being compliant. Workplace safety is another big area where compliance is extremely important. Many jobs have safety rules to protect workers from getting hurt. For example, on a construction site, workers must wear hard hats to protect their heads. In a hospital laboratory, scientists must wear protective gloves and goggles. In an office building, everyone needs to know the emergency exit plan in case of a fire. These rules might come from the government, like from an agency called OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or they might be specific rules made by the company itself. Compliance means that every worker follows these safety procedures every day, even when their boss is not watching. This is what keeps them and their colleagues safe from accidents. Compliance is not just about avoiding punishment like fines or jail time. It is about making sure that everything in society and in our organizations runs smoothly and effectively. Imagine if only half the people in your city decided to follow traffic rules. The roads would become incredibly dangerous and unpredictable. Or imagine if workers in a factory regularly ignored safety rules. Accidents would happen much more often, people would get seriously injured, and the factory might even have to stop production. Compliance is like the oil in a machine. Without it, the parts grind against each other, and things break down. In the world of business, compliance is especially important because it helps to build trust. When a company carefully follows the laws about product safety, fair wages for its employees, and protecting the environment, people tend to respect that company more. Customers feel safe buying its products. Employees feel safe and valued working there. And the company avoids expensive legal trouble. On the other hand, if a company is known for ignoring the rules, it can quickly lose its customers, its best employees, and its good reputation. It could be fined millions of dollars, or even be forced to shut down completely. It is also worth noting that compliance is not only about big, formal laws from the government. It can also be about the smaller rules in your daily life. For example, following your school's dress code, or respecting your community's rules about when to put out the trash and recycling, or keeping your voice down in a library. In all of these cases, compliance means you are doing your part to maintain order and respect the system that is in place. Sometimes, people might think that compliance is boring or unnecessary. They might feel that some rules are just there to make life more difficult. But in reality, compliance is what keeps our daily lives moving forward without constant problems. It is the reason you can trust that the food in a restaurant is safe to eat, because the restaurant is complying with health codes. It is the reason you can feel safe inside a tall building, because the builders complied with engineering and construction laws. It is the reason you can walk on the sidewalk without constantly worrying that every driver will ignore the traffic lights. So, while laws are the written rules on paper, compliance is the everyday, real-world habit of following them. Both are essential. But compliance is what truly brings the laws to life. Without it, even the best and smartest laws in the world would be completely useless. Now that we know what laws are and what compliance means, let's talk in more detail about why these two things are so incredibly important in our daily lives. You might not always notice them, but laws and compliance are working quietly in the background every minute of every day, making sure that life can run smoothly. Without them, our lives would be more dangerous, more unfair, and far more stressful than we can even imagine. First and foremost, laws and compliance protect people and their property. This is one of the most basic functions of a legal system. Imagine if there were no rules against stealing. Anyone could walk up and take your phone, your wallet, your bag, or even your car, and there would be nothing you could do to stop them. But because we have laws against theft, and because the vast majority of people comply with these laws, we can live with a basic sense of security. We can own things and feel reasonably sure that they will still be ours tomorrow. The same is true for our homes. Laws state that no one can enter your house without your permission. This means you can feel safe when you lock your door and go to sleep at night. Compliance is what makes these protections real, because most people choose to respect the property and privacy of others. They also make life more fair and safe. Fairness, as we discussed, means that everyone is treated equally under the same set of rules. For example, the laws that apply in a courtroom are supposed to be the same for everyone, regardless of their background. This creates trust in our society, because people know that the rules are meant to apply to all. Safety is another huge reason why laws exist. Think about all the laws designed to protect our health and our lives. Laws about wearing seat belts, about speed limits, about the cleanliness of restaurants, and about safety in the workplace are all there to prevent accidents and save lives. When people comply with these rules, fewer accidents happen, and our communities become safer for everyone. Another very important role of laws and compliance is helping to solve problems and conflicts peacefully. People do not always agree with each other. It is a natural part of life. Sometimes neighbors might argue about a tree that hangs over a fence, or two businesses might disagree about the terms of a contract. Laws give us a fair and structured way to solve these problems without resorting to arguments or violence. A judge in a court can listen to both sides of the story, look at the relevant law, and make a decision that both sides are required to follow. Compliance then ensures that both sides respect and accept that decision, even if one of them does not like the outcome. This process helps to keep peace in our communities. But what happens when people do not follow laws or rules? What are the consequences of non-compliance? Well, that is when problems begin to appear. Let's look at a simple example. Traffic rules. If a driver is in a big hurry and decides to ignore a red light, they could cause a terrible crash. They could injure themselves, and they could seriously injure or even kill other innocent people. By not complying with this one simple law, that driver puts many lives in danger. Here is another example from the workplace. If a factory worker decides not to follow the safety rules, maybe by not wearing protective glasses, a small piece of metal could fly into their eye and cause permanent blindness. This is not only a tragedy for the worker, but it is also bad for the company, which might have to stop production, pay for medical costs, and face legal action. When laws are broken and compliance is ignored, the negative effects can spread like ripples in a pond. If many people in a city stop paying the fare for public transportation, the bus or train system will lose a lot of money. As a result, they might have to reduce service, meaning fewer buses and trains for everyone, or they might even have to shut down completely. If many companies in an area ignore environmental laws and pollute the rivers, the water can become unsafe to drink, and the fish might die. So, breaking a rule is not just a personal choice. Your actions can hurt many other people, the community, and even the environment. You can think of laws and compliance as a kind of invisible shield. They are always around you, protecting you from danger, from unfair treatment, and from chaos. Without this shield, life would feel very uncertain and unsafe. But with it, we can live in an organized society where people generally respect each other's rights and can work together to achieve common goals. So, the next time you stop at a red light, or you pay for something in a shop, or you follow a safety rule at your job, remember that you are not just avoiding trouble. You are playing your small but very important part in keeping the entire system running. Your compliance is a small piece of a very large puzzle that makes daily life better, safer, and fairer for everyone. Now that we understand why laws are so important, let's look at the different types of laws that exist. You see, not all laws are the same. They cover many different parts of our lives, and each type of law has its own special purpose. Today, we'll talk about a few of the main types: criminal laws, civil laws, family laws, and workplace laws. I will keep the explanations and examples very simple, so you can easily understand the difference between each one. First, we have criminal laws. These are the laws that deal with serious actions that harm people, damage property, or threaten society as a whole. When someone breaks a criminal law, the act is called a crime. The main purpose of criminal law is to protect people and maintain order in society. Examples of crimes include things like stealing, which is called theft, intentionally damaging someone's property, which is called vandalism, or physically hurting another person, which is called assault. For example, if a person breaks into someone's house to steal a television, they have broken several criminal laws. The police can arrest them, and a court can punish them with a fine or even send them to prison. Criminal laws are very serious because they are designed to stop and punish behavior that is dangerous to the entire community. They help keep our neighborhoods safe. Next, there are civil laws. These laws deal with private disagreements between people, companies, or other organizations. Civil law is not about punishing someone for a serious crime against society. Instead, it is about solving problems between individuals fairly. For example, imagine you hire a contractor to paint your house. You sign a contract that says they will finish the job by a certain date. If they take your money but never finish the job, that is not a crime, but it is a legal problem. You can take that person to court under civil law to try to get your money back or to force them to complete the work as they promised. Another common example of a civil case is a dispute over property. Maybe two neighbors are arguing about where the property line between their houses really is. Civil laws provide a peaceful and organized way to resolve these types of disagreements without anyone resorting to fighting or violence. The third type we will discuss is family laws. As the name suggests, these laws deal with family matters and the legal relationships between people in a family. This area of law includes the rules about getting married, getting divorced, adopting a child, and the care and custody of children. For example, family law sets out the legal requirements for getting a marriage license. It also provides a process for how property and money should be divided when a married couple decides to get a divorce. A very important part of family law is deciding who should take care of the children after a divorce, and creating a schedule for how often the other parent can visit them. Family laws also exist to protect children from harm. If a child is being abused or neglected by their parents, family law allows the state to step in and move the child to a safe place. These laws are designed to protect the well-being of families and ensure that children can grow up in a safe and supportive environment. Finally, let's talk about workplace laws. These are the laws that govern the relationship between employers and employees. They are designed to make sure that workplaces are safe, fair, and respectful for everyone. For example, in the United States, there is a federal law that sets a minimum wage. This law says that most workers must be paid at least a certain amount of money per hour for their work. Workplace laws also require employers to provide safe working conditions. For instance, a company must provide construction workers with helmets and safety harnesses. A factory must have proper ventilation to protect workers from harmful chemicals. These laws also protect workers from being treated unfairly or being discriminated against because of their race, gender, religion, or age. They help companies by creating clear, consistent rules that everyone can understand and follow. Even though these different types of laws focus on very different areas of our lives, they are all connected by the same basic goals: keeping people safe, treating them fairly, and making sure society can function well. Criminal laws protect you from direct harm. Civil laws help you solve your personal and business disagreements peacefully. Family laws protect the relationships and children within families. And workplace laws make sure that your job is safe and that you are treated fairly. It is also important to remember that sometimes these different types of laws can overlap. For example, imagine a drunk driver causes a car accident that seriously injures another person. This one event could lead to both a criminal case and a civil case. The government could charge the driver with the crime of driving under the influence. If convicted, the driver could face fines or jail time. At the same time, the person who was injured could file a civil lawsuit against the drunk driver to get money to pay for their medical bills and car repairs. This shows how the legal system can work together to make sure that justice is served in different ways. Knowing about the different types of laws can help you better understand your rights and your responsibilities in many different situations. It also helps you know where to turn if you ever have a problem. If you are the victim of a crime, you should go to the police. If you have a problem with a contract, you might need to go to civil court. If you are dealing with a family matter like a divorce, you would go to a family court. And if you have an issue at your job, you might speak to the labor authorities or your company's human resources department. So, you see, laws are not just one big, confusing set of rules. They are like a toolbox filled with different tools, with each tool designed to fix a different kind of problem. The more you understand these tools, the better you can protect yourself and live confidently in society. We have already learned that compliance means following rules, but it is really important to see how this works in real life, in many different settings. Compliance is not just about the big laws made by the government. It is also about the everyday rules we follow in different situations that make our lives work. Whether you are at your job, at school, in your community, or even using the internet, compliance plays a vital role in keeping things safe, fair, and organized. Let's take a closer look at compliance in these different situations. First, let's talk about compliance at work. Every workplace has rules, and many of these rules are about keeping everyone safe. For example, in a factory or on a construction site, workers must wear specific protective gear like helmets, safety boots, and sometimes gloves or special glasses. These rules are not just suggestions. They are requirements designed to protect workers from very serious injuries. Compliance at work also means following company policies. This could be something simple like arriving on time, or something more serious like respecting your colleagues and never engaging in harassment, or completing your work tasks honestly and accurately. If an employee ignores these rules, it can create a hostile environment, cause accidents, or even put the company at risk of breaking the law. By carefully following safety and policy rules, workers protect themselves, their teammates, and the health of their company. Next, there is compliance at school. Schools, from elementary schools to universities, have their own set of rules designed to create a positive and effective learning environment for all students. These rules can include things like arriving on time for class, showing respect to the teacher and fellow students, keeping noise levels down in the library, and, very importantly, not cheating on exams or plagiarizing essays. Following these rules helps everyone to focus on learning. Just imagine a classroom where no one listens to the teacher and students are yelling and running around. It would be noisy, confusing, and almost no learning would happen. Compliance in a school setting teaches students important life skills like discipline, respect, and teamwork. Skills that will be incredibly valuable for them later in their careers and in life. Now let's think about compliance in our community. Most communities have rules for public spaces like parks, streets, and libraries. For example, you might see signs in a park that say, "No littering" or "Keep dogs on a leash." Many cities in the USA now have very specific recycling rules, requiring residents to separate paper, glass, and plastic, so these materials can be reused instead of being buried in a landfill. These rules are in place to keep our public areas clean, safe, and pleasant for everyone to use. If people ignored these rules, our beautiful parks would become filled with trash, our streets would be less safe, and our environment would suffer. By following these simple community rules, we show respect for our neighbors, and we actively participate in making our shared spaces better for everyone. Finally, there is the very modern and important area of compliance online. The Internet has its own set of rules, which are often called terms and conditions or terms of service. When you sign up for a new social media account or an email service, you usually have to click a box that says you agree to these terms. These rules tell you what you can and cannot do on that website or platform. For example, you are usually not allowed to post content that is harmful, hateful, or illegal. You are also responsible for protecting your password and your account information. Compliance online also means being a smart and responsible digital citizen. This means avoiding scams, not downloading illegal copies of movies or music, and respecting other people's privacy by not sharing their personal information without permission. If we do not follow these online rules, we can face consequences like having our account suspended, being fined, or in serious cases, even breaking the law. Just like in the real world, compliance online helps keep the internet a safer, fairer, and more enjoyable space for everyone. The main point to remember from all of this is that compliance is not just about avoiding trouble. It is about actively making life better and more organized in every area. At work, it keeps people safe and helps companies run smoothly. At school, it creates a great place to learn and grow. In our communities, it protects our shared spaces and the environment. And online, it helps keep our communication respectful and our information secure. No matter where you are, compliance helps to build trust. When you follow the rules consistently, other people know they can depend on you. And when everyone in a group or society follows the rules, things just work better for everyone involved. It is like a well-practiced sports team, where every player knows, understands, and respects the same set of rules, allowing them to play the game effectively together. Staying compliant is not about living in fear of punishment. It is about understanding what is expected of you and choosing to act in ways that keep life safe, fair, and respectful for everyone. So, how can we do this effectively in our daily lives? There are a few simple but powerful steps you can take. The very first step in staying compliant is knowing the rules and laws that apply to you. This means being aware of the big national laws in your country, the local rules in your town or city, and the specific regulations in places like your school, your workplace, or the online platforms you use. For example, if you get a job working in a restaurant, you must learn and follow the health and hygiene rules to keep customers safe. If you get a driver's license, you have a responsibility to know all the traffic rules. If you use a social media app, you should take a few minutes to understand its community guidelines. Without knowing the rules, it is very easy to break them by accident. That is why awareness is the true foundation of compliance. The second step is to always ask questions when you do not understand something. Many people get into trouble simply because they were too shy, embarrassed, or afraid to ask for clarification. For instance, if your manager at work gives you instructions to complete a task, but you are not sure about the correct or safe procedure, it is always better to ask for more information. Guessing could lead you to do it incorrectly, which might break a safety rule or a company policy. The same is true in school. If you do not understand a rule about a research paper, ask your teacher. Compliance is not about guessing. It is about making sure you understand before you act. Another incredibly important way to stay compliant is to get your information from official and reliable sources. Not all the information you hear from friends, see on social media, or read in online forums is correct. In fact, a lot of it can be wrong. If you want to know the official traffic rules, you should check the website for your state's Department of Motor Vehicles, or DMV. If you need to know about workplace policies, you should read your official employee handbook or ask someone in your human resources department. For important legal or tax matters, you should always consult official government websites, like irs.gov for taxes, or speak with certified professionals like lawyers or accountants. Relying on accurate, trusted sources helps you avoid making mistakes based on bad information. Finally, building good habits is the key to staying compliant without having to think about it all the time. Good habits, like being respectful, honest, and safety-conscious, can become a natural part of your daily life and guide your actions automatically. For example, if you make it a habit to always put on your seatbelt the second you get in a car, you are automatically complying with the law without any extra effort. If you make it a habit to double-check information before you share it online, you are helping to stay compliant with policies against misinformation. If you get used to always cleaning up your area in a public park, you are following community cleanliness rules by habit. These good habits greatly reduce the risk of accidental mistakes and help create a more positive environment around you. Ultimately, staying compliant is not just about a list of rules. It is about taking responsibility for your actions. When you make an effort to know the rules, ask questions when you are unsure, rely on official sources for information, and build respectful habits, you not only protect yourself from potential trouble, but you also contribute to a safer, fairer, and more organized society for everyone. Compliance works best when it becomes a part of who you are, a part of your character, not just something you force yourself to remember. This mindset transforms following the rules from a chore into a natural and positive part of your everyday life, making you a more trusted and respected member of your community, your workplace, and your society. Even though following laws and rules is very important, it is also true that many people face challenges when they try to stay compliant. These challenges can sometimes make it difficult to always do the right thing. Today, we are going to talk about some of the most common challenges people face. Understanding these challenges can help you to avoid problems in your own life and make better choices. One of the biggest and most common challenges is simply not knowing the rules. Sometimes people break laws or rules simply because they are not aware that those rules exist. For example, imagine someone who moves to the United States from another country. They might not know the local traffic rules. They could accidentally make a right turn at a red light where it is not allowed. Or they might not understand the rules about parking on the street. Another example is a new employee who starts a job and does not know all of the specific safety rules for their workplace. Without the right knowledge, it is very easy to make honest mistakes. This is why learning about the rules and asking questions is so important. It is always better to take the time to find out and be sure, rather than to guess and risk breaking a rule. Another significant challenge is dealing with cultural differences and misunderstandings. Different cultures around the world have very different customs and ways of doing things. What is considered perfectly normal and polite behavior in one country might be against the rules or seen as rude in another. For example, in some cultures, bargaining over the price of an item in a store is very common and expected. However, in most stores in the USA, the price on the tag is the final price, and trying to bargain would be seen as very strange. If you are visiting or living in a new country, you might not know all of these cultural customs and unwritten rules, which can sometimes cause misunderstandings or awkward situations. Sometimes, people might think a certain behavior is acceptable because it is normal in their home culture, but it is actually against the law in the place they are now living. Understanding and respecting local customs and laws is a key part of avoiding these challenges. Some people face the internal problem of thinking that certain rules are not important. They might believe that small rules do not really matter, or that following them is just a waste of time. For example, someone might think it is okay to throw a single candy wrapper on the street, believing that just one small piece of trash will not cause any harm. Or they might decide not to wear a helmet when riding their bicycle for a short trip because it feels uncomfortable. This kind of attitude can easily lead to bigger problems. Small rules usually exist for very good reasons, often to protect public safety, cleanliness, or fairness. Ignoring them can end up harming you or others. It is important to remember that almost every rule has a purpose, even if that purpose is not immediately obvious to us. Peer pressure or listening to bad advice is another very powerful challenge, especially for younger people. Sometimes, our friends, family members, or even our co-workers might encourage us to break rules or ignore laws. For example, a friend might say, "Don't worry about the speed limit on this road, everyone drives fast here." Or a person at work might tell you, "It's okay to skip that safety check to save some time." Nobody will notice. When people listen to this kind of bad advice, they might end up breaking rules without really thinking through the potential consequences. Peer pressure can be very strong and difficult to resist, but it is incredibly important to make your own decisions based on what you know is right and safe. If you ever feel unsure, it is always best to seek advice from trusted and official sources, not just from friends who might be encouraging risky behavior. To make this all a bit clearer, let me share a few simple stories. Imagine a new student at a high school who did not know the rule about not using cell phones in the classroom. She used her phone during a lesson to text her friend, and the teacher took it away, and she got into trouble. If she had taken the time to read the student handbook or ask a teacher about the rule, she could have easily avoided this problem. Or think about a tourist visiting a national park in the USA, where there are strict rules against feeding the wild animals. He did not see the signs and threw some of his sandwich to a squirrel. He did not know that this can make the animals sick and aggressive. A park ranger saw him and gave him a large fine. These examples show how a lack of knowledge can lead to trouble. But they also show us the importance of learning, asking questions, and making careful, responsible choices. No one is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes from time to time. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes and try to do better in the future. Remember, just understanding that these common challenges exist will help you to be more aware. It will help you avoid breaking rules and stay safe and respectful in your daily life. If you ever feel confused about a rule or pressured by others to ignore one, please do not be afraid to ask for help or advice from people you trust, like a teacher, a boss, or from an official source. Being aware of these challenges is the first step toward becoming a more confident and responsible person who can navigate the rules of society with ease. Now that we have talked about some of the challenges people face when trying to follow laws and rules, let's focus on something much more positive: the many benefits of following laws and being compliant. When you make a choice to follow the rules, you are not just avoiding trouble. You are also gaining many good things in your life. These benefits can help you to live more safely, to build better relationships with people, and to earn respect from your community. Let's explore some of these wonderful benefits together. One of the most important and immediate benefits is personal safety. Many laws and rules are created for the primary purpose of protecting you and keeping you safe from harm. For example, the law that requires you to wear a seatbelt while driving or riding in a car is there to protect you in case of an accident. It can literally save your life. Following traffic rules, such as stopping at red lights and obeying the speed limits, dramatically reduces your risk of getting into a crash. Safety rules at your workplace, like wearing protective equipment, are there to protect you from injuries. When you choose to comply with these rules, you are actively taking care of your own health and your well-being. Personal safety is the foundation for a good and happy life. When you feel safe, you are free to focus on other important things like your work, your studies, and your family. Another amazing benefit is having better relationships with the people around you. Following laws and rules is a powerful way to show that you respect other people and their rights. For example, when you obey the noise rules in your apartment building or your neighborhood, you are showing respect for your neighbor's need for peace and quiet. When you respect your workplace policies, you help to create a positive and productive environment where your co-workers can trust and rely on you. When you follow family laws and agreements, you help to create harmony and stability at home. When people see that you are a person who follows the rules and respects others, they are much more likely to trust you, to like you, and to want to work with you or live near you. Good, strong relationships are what make life happy and meaningful. Following laws and rules also brings you trust and respect from others in your community. Trust is a very important ingredient in a functioning society. When people know that you are someone who follows the rules, they can trust you to do the right thing. This trust can help you in many ways. For example, your employer might trust you enough to give you more responsibilities or a promotion. Your friends might trust you enough to rely on you when they need help. Respect naturally comes with trust. People respect those who behave in a fair, honest, and responsible way. Earning the respect of others can open doors to new opportunities in your work, in school, and in your community life. It also helps to build your personal reputation as a responsible and reliable person. Lastly, one of the clearest and most practical benefits of following laws and being compliant is simply avoiding problems and penalties. When you break rules, you can face negative consequences like fines that cost you money, legal action that takes up your time and energy, or other punishments. For example, speeding can lead to an expensive ticket and higher insurance costs. Not paying your taxes correctly can lead to serious trouble with the government, including large fines and interest payments. These kinds of problems cost you time, money, and your peace of mind. By simply being compliant, you save yourself from all of these headaches. This means you can focus your energy on positive things in your life without constantly worrying about getting into trouble. Avoiding penalties also means you keep a clean record, which can be very important when you are applying for jobs, trying to rent an apartment, or even traveling to other countries. In summary, choosing to follow laws and be compliant is about so much more than just avoiding punishment. It is about actively creating a better, safer, and more successful life for yourself and for those around you. Personal safety keeps you healthy and well. Good relationships make your life more enjoyable. Trust and respect from others can open up new doors and opportunities. And avoiding penalties saves you from unnecessary stress and problems. All of these benefits clearly show that compliance is a smart and positive choice. Remember, each and every time you choose to follow a rule, you are making a decision that helps both you and your community. Even small actions like wearing a helmet when you bike, paying your bills on time, or respecting your neighbor's property have big, positive benefits. The more you practice compliance, the more these benefits will grow and flourish in your life. Now, to help you understand all of this in a more practical way, let me share 2 short stories with you. These stories will show how following laws and rules can bring good results, and how breaking them can cause serious problems. Both stories use simple English, so you can listen carefully, practice your comprehension, and learn some important lessons from them. Our first story is about a young woman named Maria. Maria lives in a big, busy city and works as a nurse in a large hospital. The hospital has many rules that are designed to protect both the patients and the staff. 2 of the most important rules are about patient privacy and hygiene. The privacy law, known as HIPAA in the USA, says that she cannot share any patient's medical information with anyone who is not authorized. The hygiene rules require her to wash her hands thoroughly before and after seeing every patient to prevent the spread of infections. One day, a very famous movie star was admitted to the hospital. All the other nurses and staff were very excited. Some of them were whispering about the movie star's condition and were tempted to look at his private medical file in the computer system. But Maria knew this was wrong and against the law. She focused on her own patients and refused to join the gossip. Later that week, there was an outbreak of a dangerous infection in another part of the hospital. Because Maria was always so careful and compliant with the hand-washing rules, none of her patients got sick. Her manager noticed her professionalism and her dedication. When a promotion for a head nurse position became available, Maria was chosen for the job because of her excellent record of responsibility and integrity. Maria's story shows that following the rules, even when it's difficult or unpopular, protects others and brings positive rewards. Her compliance kept her patients safe and helped her advance in her career. Now, let's hear the story of David, a young man who did not follow the rules and faced serious problems as a result. David was a talented graphic designer who decided to start his own small online business, creating websites for clients. To make his own website look more professional and to attract customers faster, he started using beautiful, high-quality photographs that he found on the internet. He knew that these photos were probably protected by copyright law, which means you cannot use them without permission from the photographer. But he thought, I am just a small business. No one will ever notice. For a few months, His business did very well. His website looked amazing with all the professional photos, and he got many clients. He was making good money. But one day, he received a very serious-looking email. It was from a large photography agency. The email was a cease and desist letter, a legal demand for him to immediately stop using their copyrighted images. They included a list of all the photos he had stolen and a bill for thousands of dollars in licensing fees. David was scared and ignored the email. A few weeks later, he was sued. He had to hire an expensive lawyer. In the end, he had to shut down his business, pay a huge settlement to the photography agency, and his professional reputation was ruined. David's story teaches us a very important lesson. Ignoring laws, especially ones that seem easy to break like copyright, can lead to huge problems. Trying to take shortcuts by breaking the rules can cause you to lose your business, your money, and your good name. Both Maria's story and David's story are simple, but they are very powerful. Maria showed responsibility, integrity, and respect for the rules, and she was rewarded with safety, success, and the trust of her employer. David ignored the rules because he thought it was an easy way to get ahead, and he ended up facing serious, life-changing consequences. These stories help us understand that laws and compliance are not just about avoiding punishment. They are about making smart, ethical choices that protect us and help us build good, sustainable lives. Every time you choose to follow a rule, you are like Maria, making a choice for safety and success. And every time you are tempted to ignore a rule, like David did, you risk losing many of the good things you have worked so hard for. Remember these stories as you go through your day. Think about how your choices, the small ones and the big ones, can either keep you safe and respected or cause you serious problems down the road. As we come toward the end of our episode today, I want to leave you with some final, practical tips. These are simple ideas that can help you stay on the right path when it comes to laws and compliance. Following these tips will help make your life safer, easier, and more respectful, both for yourself and for the people around you. First, always keep learning about your rights and your responsibilities. Laws and rules are not always static. They can change over time, and new ones can be introduced. It is very important to stay informed about the rules that apply to you in your country, your community, your workplace, and online. For example, if you start a new job, take the time to read the employee handbook and learn the company's policies. If you move to a new town or state, do a little research to learn the local laws about things like parking, trash disposal, and recycling. The more you know, the better you can protect yourself and avoid making accidental mistakes. Learning is a lifelong process. No one knows everything, but being curious and open to new information is a great way to grow and adapt. Second, always try to respect others. Respect is really at the heart of what compliance is all about. When you follow rules, you are showing respect for other people's safety, their property, and their feelings. This respect is what builds trust and strong, positive relationships with your family, your friends, your co-workers, and your neighbors. Respect also means listening carefully to others and being polite, even if you do not always agree with them. When you treat other people with kindness and fairness, you are helping to create a better and more peaceful community for everyone to live in. Next, it is so important to think before you act. Sometimes, in our busy lives, we make quick decisions without really thinking about the possible consequences. But when it comes to laws and rules, taking just a moment to pause and think can save you from a lot of trouble. For example, before you cross the street, pause and look both ways and wait for the signal that says it is safe to walk. Before you share a shocking story online, take a moment to ask yourself, is this information true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Before you get behind the wheel of a car, think about your responsibility to drive safely and obey all the traffic signs. Thinking carefully helps you to choose actions that are safe, respectful, and legal. Finally, never ever be afraid to ask for help if you are unsure about a rule or a law. No one expects you to know everything. If you do not understand a rule, or if you are not sure how to follow it correctly, ask someone you trust. This could be a teacher, a manager, a family member, or someone from an official authority. Asking questions is a sign of intelligence and responsibility, not weakness. It is a smart way to learn and to avoid making mistakes. It shows that you care about doing things the right way. Remember, it is always better to ask a question and be sure than to guess and risk breaking a rule. These final tips are simple, but they are very powerful. By keeping them in mind in your daily life, you will become more confident in understanding and following laws and being compliant. You will protect yourself, you will build better relationships, and you will be an active participant in creating a safer, fairer world for us all. Thank you so very much for listening to today's episode of English in Fluency. I truly hope you found it useful and interesting. Remember, learning about laws and compliance is not just for lawyers or police officers or experts. It is for everyone, including you. Keep practicing your English listening and speaking skills by thinking about these ideas and maybe even sharing them with your friends and family. If you found this lesson helpful and want to continue improving your English with us, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, English in Fluency, and don't forget to turn on the bell notification. That way, you will be the first to know whenever we release a new episode. Stay safe, respect the rules, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.